Hi there guys and gamer girls, and this time anyone in general who's frustrated with file permission issues. So NARKISSSA back here with another DIY tech repair. The other night I found myself frustrated beyond belief trying to figure out why my editing process was brought to a screeching halt with one little message that read, "You don't have permission to edit this file." After hours of research, watching brief 1.5 minute tutorials on YouTube and going through website after website, trying to figure out why it wasn't as simple as everyone said it should be to fix, I finally gathered all of the information that I think anyone needs in order to remedy whatever issue they're having with file permissions. So if you'll follow me back down the rabbit hole I ended up in, I will offer you the clarity that I couldn't find and will hopefully help you out. So it turns out my issue happened to be with the read-only status of the parent folder. But we're going to go ahead and start with the root of the problem, pardon the pun, just in case your issue is associated with any of the other files, folders, or properties. Remember, this is file permissions for dummies, so in completely layman's terms, I will break down this diagram for you. What we have here is a file directory, or essentially the family tree of the folders, subfolders, and files for your computer, starting at the top with the root, which is the drive, that is the hard drive your information is stored on. And then below that, your system files, which are primarily responsible for the functionality of your computer. Within your system files, you have the user folders, which are allocated to each person who has a sign-in to said computer. And within each user's allocated space, you have a parent folder, which houses all of these subfolders, such as your videos, your audios, your documents, and so on. And within each of those, of course, is where you find the actual file/file extension, which would be the video I was trying to edit. So first things first, we're going to try to correct the issue from the file extension level. Why? Because the higher up you go in the file directory, the larger risk you run in compromising the security of your file. And in most cases, the issue can be resolved within the file itself. Depending on the program you're trying to apply with the file, it can determine whether or not what we're about to do will be successful. To make this first attempt at repairing the issue, we're going to utilize the NTFS interface. This literally stands for New Technology File System. You can locate this graphic menu by first going to the file that is in concern, right-click on the file, scroll down to Properties, click on Properties, and bam, you've got your interface. It's extremely user-friendly and houses all the tabs you need in order to easily manage the properties and attributes of sharing and security and other file-associated concerns. Once in the menu, open up the Security tab. Use the top window to assess who does and does not already have permission to the file. It looks like I've pretty much assigned everyone I wish to have permission, but for example's sake, I will choose to add the guest user. So click on Edit and then Add. From there, we'll go to Advanced and click on Find Now. Scroll down and find the guest user we want to add to permissions. This is easier than trying to type in the name of the user you want to add, because sometimes the computer has a different name saved than what you think it is. From there, you'll click OK, and then you'll have the opportunity to apply permissions in the bottom window. Once you've done that, click Apply, and then click OK. Afterwards, you'll click OK again to close the menu and save the settings. If you're sharing this file with a large network to save yourself a huge headache, it's a good idea to go back in and confirm that the settings were applied. To do so, click on Advanced and go to Effective Setting tab. Then click on Select User. You'll go through the same process, essentially clicking on Advanced, Find, and the guest user in this case. Then click OK and OK again, and you will see that the guest user is the selected user now. Click on View and you can see which permissions that user does or doesn't have. Thankfully, it looks like the guest can do anything, including read and write. So if that didn't fix your issue, the next thing you might want to assess is the sharing permissions from the parent file. or parent folder. In my case, that was the video folder that my video file was stored in. So I'll right-click on videos, click on properties, and find myself in the same interface on which I will select sharing. From there, I want to make sure that everyone I want to be able to use that file is in the sharing window. As you can see, there's everyone and an administrator, I believe. So click add, and it's the same process. You'll click advanced, find now, find the guest. In this case, I think it was Bumblebee for me on this time. And now that I am in the user window, I can select my permissions and apply them. Same thing, click OK, but this time you're going to click apply one more time, and OK to close and save. If still not resolved, the next course of action is to take ownership of the parent folder. I'll explain why in a moment. Get back into the NTFS interface, click on Advanced, and go to the top where it says Change. Same concept, you'll click on Advanced and Find Now and choose the user that you want to have ownership of that file, one that you are sure that its permissions will allow your actions to take place. Once you've clicked Apply, you'll get the little message that says you've taken ownership of this file. You'll click OK and OK again to close and save. Then you'll want to go back into the properties and just make sure that everything took root. You can click on the auditing properties and check that window. If you want, click on the user and click edit. Make sure that you're allowed to do everything that you need to do within that folder. As I'm sure you can tell by now, the process itself is pretty redundant. However, every step you take does make a big difference in who has permissions and which ones. So all I'm doing here is going back through each tab and making sure that all the settings are as desired, mainly because of something I just mentioned, which would be inherited permissions. So inherited permissions work just like they sound they might. Essentially, just like in real parenting, if a parent says, I have permission to stay up past 10 p.m., so I'm going to give my child, aka child file, the same permission, then that child can do whatever the parent can do. Vice versa, if the other parent disables that permission, then that child cannot do what the parent, aka parent folder, can do. Aside from cut and dry enabling, once disabled, you can choose explicitly which users have what permissions for which files. This particular property management is what enables professors to utilize drop boxes with their classrooms, and organizations and corporations and businesses to utilize the same level of communication and file sharing within their network. To view or make changes to inherited permissions, you just need to navigate back to the NTFS interface and click on Advanced, where you can then view which users have or don't have those advantages in the large window. If the status of the user in question reads None, then they do not have any inherited permissions, and that could very well be the underlying issue of your file permission challenge. The users whose inherited permissions are enabled will display the root of those permissions in the status bar. In this case, it looks like the E drive, which is helpful because if those permissions need to be adjusted, one knows where to start. Back to the beginning where I mentioned that my problem turned out to be the fact that the parent folder had a read-only status. The problem with this is, even though the file I was trying to use did not have a read-only status, the program in which I was trying to use it only recognized the parent folder permissions. The only way to fix this is with an umbrella solution, such as utilizing a command prompt in MS-DOS. There are several ways to navigate to the command prompt box. I prefer to use the hotkeys. You simply press the Windows key and the letter R simultaneously. Then a little dialog box will pop up in which you want to type CMD. It's usually already generated. Now, instead of pressing OK, you want to instead hold down the Control, Shift, and Enter key simultaneously so to open an administrator command prompt box, as you'll be dealing with a command prompt that targets the root. At this point, we could easily find ourselves deep down inside another rabbit hole, and that's because of DOS and the language of DOS, which is necessary to utilize command prompt. The key here is just to orient yourself with the abbreviations, the symbols, and the letters that will accomplish the task at hand. You can see how I am, through careful trial and error, associating what I have gathered with what I would like to accomplish. Where I have typed the abbreviation ATTRIB, that stands for the attribute which I want to remove, thus the -R for read only. And then to apply that command to the root, which is the drive that the folder and file are stored on, I know that I need to apply the /. So if all that was a little overwhelming, have heart, you can simply use Google to look up common command prompts. However, I can't guarantee they'll always work. That's why I find myself in this boat trying to piece together what I had learned. I did include some links in the description that will give you information on commonly used command prompts, and from there you can derive a lot of things that are kind of in between the lines. Once I've typed in the correct sequence with the right amount of spaces and all that jazz, we will see a cascade of command prompts being successfully carried out. Once finished, just close the MS-DOS window and all the other running programs on your computer, as you'll need to restart your computer before attempting to edit the file that was prompting the file permissions error in the beginning. I'm just going to quickly navigate back to my video folder and grab a file and a quick snippet to see if it will in fact edit and save. No error message, that's a good sign. And there's the edit. Awesome. Well, I guess it goes to show, if all else fails, MS-DOS and command prompts will get to the root of the problem. Pun intended that time. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope I was able to fill in all the missing links, and I hope you'll be back to see what I play or repair next. In the meantime, keep being awesome. Peace.